What is home to you? My mother has always said she isn't sure where her home is, and I remember being small and looking around at our house wondering if this wasn't home, then what was? But as I've gotten older, I've understood more and more that to so many people, it's not a simple question. And although my mother now says her home is with me and my brother, she cannot pick a place that she feels loves her back in the same way that she loves it. To me, my hometown is made of sleepy street lamps and salty breeze, October sunrises and quiet woods. But home is also a bustling night market, rainy winters and skyscrapers next to 100-year-old mom and pop stores. To you, dear watcher, home could be any number of things. Your motherland or the street you grew up on. Home is home is home.
I'm Janice Schachter. I'm 59 years old. I'm a mom and a teacher.
So I am Clever Isaac, originally from Ecuador, Latin America, and I am 30 years old.
So my name is Jerry Wang. I'm an associate professor here at National Taiwan University in the Department of Foreign Languages and Literatures, and I'm currently in my 40s.
So my name is Orion, I'm 17, and as for identifiers, I'd say that I'm tall.
I started by asking a deceptively simple question. What is home?
Uh, well, right now, where is home for me? I don't know. I don't know where is home for me.
So I don't. I don't have a place that I call home. I just have the place where I currently live.
For me, I think home is a place where I feel comfortable, dignified, and happy. So wherever I can feel that joy, where I can find that joy, I'd call it home.
So currently, I've kind of gone back to my childhood definition. Home is where my parents are and where my parents stay, their apartment. It's where we have all shared all these family experiences together while I'm here in Taiwan. That location is where I currently associate with home.
Home is a place or a moment where you feel love, where you feel comfortable, where you feel safe. Home is a feeling, and I get that feeling when I'm with my family, especially my children.
I've been abroad like almost my half life, 14 years. So I'm actually wondering what is home for me. Before, when I hear the word home, it was like a physical place. But I think it's more now like a stage of how do you feel. So whenever I am with good friends, with good companion, I'm not only having nice people, but feeling connected to them. Sharing nice time makes me feel like home.
As for now, home would be in Taiwan, with a community, with my family.
It's just myself. Like whenever I am with myself, I'm just feeling or trying to feel. I've been working on that. Like feeling whole, feeling in peace, and yeah, just me, myself. It's home. That's fine.
At this point, I was seeing patterns, so I asked about where they had lived before to get a better idea of the locational aspect.
I was born in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, but while I was being born, my father was getting a job in Delaware, so moved immediately to Wilmington, Delaware, and lived there till I was 11. When I was 11, my father was transferred to Taipei, and so we lived there for almost 4 years, and then moved back to Delaware for 1 year, and then to Pennsylvania for 2 years. That was my last 2 years of high school. I went to college in Pennsylvania, also back in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and got a job also in Bethlehem for a few years before moving to Long Island.
So I was born in Taipei, Taiwan. My dad shortly went to the States to work. So when I was 2 months old, my mom and I we followed him to the States. So then we were living in Queens, New York for 5 years and in Washington, D.C. for 3 years. After that, I returned to Taipei finished my elementary school. I then went to Malaysia, where my dad was posted for 5 years, and that was in my middle school to high school years. During my time in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, when wildlife rules were still fairly lax, we had a pet monkey, and we lived with her for 5 years. Since the time she was born, it'd always be nice to track her down, and she would be also a real sort of definition of home. Came back to Taiwan for college, and then went to the States, New Haven, Connecticut, Yale to do my PhD, and then back here to teach.
Yeah, I've lived all 17 years in Taiwan. Born here. My parents are both not Taiwanese. They're from other countries. They're from Spain, and my dad's from Australia.
Do you consider Taiwan to be home?
No, I do not consider Taiwan as a country to be home. I consider it a place of residence.
With my head swimming with all these places, I just had to ask, how do they try to explain their home to someone they just met?
I would always say to people that I was from another place, like where they were not. So as a child in the States, if people asked me where I was from, I would say from Taiwan. But coming back here, I would say I'm from New York. But now if people ask me like where you're originally from, I'll try to say like Taipei, but then they don't believe me.
I always felt awkward when I was asked that question. I always felt it required a long explanation because I didn't have the answer. I didn't really know what to say, and I know people assume it's a simple question, right? And it's a common getting to know you question, and I always stumbled with it. I don't know. I don't feel like I'm from any place. Depending on who's asking me and where we are, that influences what I make up at that moment.
A term that my mom had recently discovered, third culture kid, was coming to mind.
I think due to me not being exactly Taiwanese or not exactly a foreigner, there have been some kind of quarrels with this culture and others. I think that there have been some times where you don't feel that you're in a certain group or certain community where you feel you're being included. But I don't think that really matters to me anymore. I think the most important thing is congeniality. So the ability to resonate with other people or other people resonating with you, either intellectually or not really based on physical identifying characteristics.
Yes, I would, because I'm never sure where I truly belong. It's neither here nor there, and that has had an impact. I think since childhood, I've never really felt at home anywhere.
It reminded me of the first time I went back to my hometown after my first year of college. But that couldn't be right because my hometown was stable. My mom made sure of that. I wondered if any of them had recently returned to their hometown, and I asked them about it.
I loved my time in Taiwan. Like that's the place I loved the most, and maybe wish I could call home. When my family was going back to the States, I did not want to go. So going back was almost like magical to me. I was like so excited to see some of the familiar places, but it had been 30 years and a lot of it wasn't familiar. A lot had changed. Chiang was totally different. My school wasn't there anymore. It had moved. But even going to Taipei American School was exciting. Some of the things that were at the old campus were there, and I was emotional, and I was like just so excited to be back in that place that made me so happy. But mostly it wasn't familiar, and I couldn't go back to I couldn't time travel. I couldn't go back to the time and the even the space where I had been before.
Finally, after hearing them talk about the experiences of being a third culture kid, it occurred to me what seemed to be a common thread between their stories: an intimate relationship with liminality. What is that, you ask? Allow me to explain. The word liminal is an adjective meaning of or pertaining to an entrance or a threshold. It comes from the Latin word for threshold, doorway, or beginning. A liminal space is a place of transition, oftentimes between two different locations or states of being. In anthropology, liminality is the quality of ambiguity or disorientation that occurs in the middle stage of a rite of passage, when participants no longer hold their pre-ritual status, but have not yet begun the transition to the status they will hold when the rite is complete. The human brain likes functionality, or for things that make sense to what we know or believe to be true of the world. Thus, a liminal space can feel strange or unsettling. One common way a seemingly mundane place can cause such a reaction is when a place that is usually bustling with people or life or some kind of external stimuli is empty or abandoned. A shopping mall in the middle of the night, or a school during a vacation. Both are familiar, but without the people, they lack context or purpose, feeling as if they've been frozen in time. I think for a lot of people, home, as a concept, is a liminal space. Whether they had one home for a long time and then moved away, or they have never been sure where home was, to define home is to limit, to cut out a part of themselves. For the former, their hometown becomes that nostalgic place of the past, and when you come back home for a visit, it feels as though everything has changed, like everything has shifted just 5 feet to the left. At once, your hometown is exactly the same and completely different from the last time you were here, as if maybe time forgot to make her rounds. But now that you've left, do you find yourself searching for familiarity wherever you go? Looking for a home-cooked meal that is almost as good as your grandma's, but never better? No, that's impossible. Do you find yourself missing the comfort of knowing all of the culture and social cues of home? And whether you were the person who thrived in your hometown, cradled in the arms of familiarity, or was itching to get out to somewhere new, you can't shake the feeling of how returning here feels like a dream. Or maybe a nightmare. Are you sure you have all your fingers and toes? That everyone's faces don't seem a bit blurry? Or, for those who have never been sure where home was, they exist only within a liminal space. 1 foot in one room and 1 foot in the other, standing in the doorway, looking into each room but never entering. They crave the safety that those on the inside seem to hoard, but fear leaving the familiarity of liminality. Home is a place they yearn to be without ever having known it. For all of these people, whose stories are so rich that an outsider would never guess they are struggling with the concept of home and where they belong, they must constantly grapple with identity and safety.
Home in the abstract sense is more like a space in the imagination where you are always nostalgic for, but which you can really never attain because it's not in this world, at least physically in reality.
Sometimes you feel like you're in neither place or 1 foot in each place. Like I feel like I don't have my feet in any place, and sometimes this makes me sad, and I might get emotional right now. But I feel like your home is a big part of your identity, or a part. I shouldn't say a big part, but your home is a part of your identity that I don't have. I don't have that piece. You know, when you describe yourself or think about yourself, I think that the place is important.
But that somewhere else is undefinable, of course. It's not, any of the places that I've lived in before.
But consider this. It is not your hometown that changes, but you. When your home becomes a liminal space of nostalgia, it is because you have grown out of it. You have become different from who you were when you could definitely call this place home. And if you aren't sure where home is, you spend your life creating a pocket of home for yourself, wherever you are. Miriam Adney wrote, "You will never be completely at home again, because part of your heart will always be elsewhere. That is the price you pay for the richness of loving and knowing people in more than one place."
To come home means then to be seeking some place in the imagination where you can find a sense of security and belonging.